wish you were here with me.
Prologue. Have you ever felt your heart shatter so completely that you could hear the pieces falling?
I have.
My name is Leora Ashvale, and I used to be Luna of the North Star Pack in Chicago, Illinois. Used to be, because 3 years ago, on a freezing December night, 12 wolves voted to destroy my life. I was 24 years old, 6 months pregnant with my second child, standing in the council chamber of our downtown penthouse headquarters while the man I loved stood silent. Silent, while they called me defective. Silent, while they said a Luna who couldn't shift during pregnancy was worthless. Silent, while they voted to exile me from the only family I'd ever known. His name was Asterion Darkmoon, Alpha of North Star Pack, my fated mate, the father of my children. And when Elder Cashin asked for his vote, when Asterion could have stopped everything with a single word, he looked me in the eyes and said the 3 words that ended my world. I abstain. Not yes. Not no. Just nothing. The coward's choice. They say when a mate bond breaks, you can hear your soul screaming. They're right. It sounds like your daughter begging you not to leave. It sounds like 3 years of promises turning to ash. It sounds like the future you dreamed of dying in real time. I remember collapsing. Remember blood running from my nose as the bond shattered. Remember my daughter Celeste, only 3 years old, crying for me as guards dragged me toward the doors. And I remember the last thing Elder Cashin said before they threw me out into the Chicago winter with nothing but the clothes on my back and a baby in my belly. You have until sunrise to leave Pack territory. After that, you're a rogue. And we hunt rogues. I should have died that night. I wanted to die that night. But the moon goddess had other plans. This is the story of how I went from broken and banished to divine and unstoppable. How I learned that what they called weakness was actually the moon goddess herself, sleeping in my blood, waiting for the moment I'd need her most. This is the story of my second chance at life. And trust me, I made it count. Chapter 1. December in Chicago is brutal. 20 degrees below freezing, wind cutting through the streets like knives, snow piling up in gray, dirty mountains along Michigan Avenue. I stumbled through it all, 6 months pregnant, wearing nothing but a thin sweater and jeans because they hadn't even let me pack a coat. My daughter's screams still echoed in my head. Mama, Mama, please don't go.
Celeste.
My baby girl. 3 years old with Asterion silver eyes and my dark hair. They'd held her back while I was dragged away. Told her mama was too weak to stay. That she'd be better off without me. The mate bond was gone now. Just gone. Like someone had reached into my chest and ripped out part of my soul. The empty space where it used to be felt like frostbite from the inside. And my wolf. She'd been dormant since the pregnancy started. Normal. Expected. Temporary. But the Pack Council called it weakness. Called it a sign that I wasn't fit to be Luna. Elder Cashin, that power-hungry snake, had been waiting for any excuse to remove me. Asterion had chosen me over Cashin's daughter 3 years ago, and he'd never forgiven either of us. And now, with me unable to shift, unable to defend myself in the traditional ways, Cashin finally had his opening. I made it to Union Station before I collapsed. The few humans passing by didn't even look at me. Just another homeless person on the streets of Chicago. Nothing to see here. I curled up against a wall, hands on my pregnant belly, feeling my baby kick. Strong. Insistent. Fighting to live even as I was ready to give up. I'm sorry, I whispered to my unborn child. I'm so sorry you're going to be born into this mess. You deserve better. You deserve a mother who's strong enough to protect you. That's when I heard the voice. Not out loud. In my mind. Gentle but powerful, like moonlight given sound. You are strong enough, daughter. You've always been strong enough. You just forgot. I looked up. The moon was full tonight, impossibly bright despite the city lights. It seemed to pulse, almost like a heartbeat. Who are you? I whispered.
You know who I am.
You've prayed to me your whole life. And now I'm answering. The moon goddess. She was real. She was here. She was talking to me. Stand up, Leora. This isn't where your story ends. This is where it transforms. I can't. I'm too weak. They were right about me. They were wrong about everything. Strength isn't the ability to dominate others. Strength is surviving when the world tells you to break. And you, my daughter, are about to become the strongest wolf alive.
How?
First, you survive this night. Then you go south. To Dallas, Texas. There's a sanctuary there. A place for wolves the packs have thrown away. A man named Kale runs it. He's been waiting for you. Waiting for me? I don't understand. You will. Now stand.
Walk.
Survive. Because I'm not done with you yet, Leora Ashvale. Not by a long shot. The voice faded, but the moonlight seemed to intensify, warming me despite the freezing temperature. And for the first time since the exile, I felt something other than despair. I felt possible. I pulled myself to my feet, one hand on the wall, one hand cradling my belly. Okay, I whispered to my baby. Okay, we're going to survive this. We're going to make it to Dallas. We're going to find this sanctuary. And we're going to be okay. It was a lie, of course. I had no money, no car, no resources. I was 6 months pregnant and alone in a city that suddenly felt hostile. But I'd learned something important in that moment. Sometimes, the only way to survive is to lie to yourself convincingly enough that you start to believe it. Chapter 2. Getting from Chicago to Dallas when you're broke, pregnant, and exiled from the supernatural community requires creativity. And a lot of hitchhiking. I spent 3 days on the road. Caught rides with truck drivers who didn't ask questions. Slept in rest stops. Ate whatever I could afford from vending machines. The baby kicked constantly, as if reminding me why I couldn't give up. On the second night, somewhere in Missouri, I had my first dream. The moon goddess appeared to me, not as a voice this time, but as a woman. She was impossibly beautiful, with silver hair that flowed like water and eyes that held entire galaxies. "You're doing well," she said, and her voice felt like coming home. "I'm terrified," I admitted. "Good. Fear means you're alive. It means you haven't given up yet. Why did you choose me? I'm nobody. I'm just an exiled Luna with no pack, no mate, no power." She smiled. "You're wrong about all of that. You have a pack waiting for you. Not the one you lost, but a better one. Built on choice, not obligation. As for a mate..." Her smile widened. "Let's just say the moon goddess doesn't make mistakes. Asterion wasn't your forever. He was your lesson. And power.
Oh, daughter.
You have more power than you can possibly imagine. But it's sleeping, waiting. When your baby is born, when you've reached the sanctuary, when you're ready, that's when you'll awaken." Awaken into what? Into what you were always meant to be. My avatar. My voice on Earth. The first Luna priestess in 500 years. I woke up gasping. Luna priestess. Divine authority. 500 years. It was impossible. And yet, every instinct I had said it was true. On the third day, I finally reached Dallas. The address the moon goddess had given me led to a warehouse district in East Dallas. Not the glamorous part of the city. This was industrial, gritty, real. And standing in front of a renovated warehouse, waiting like he'd known exactly when I'd arrive, was the most striking man I'd ever seen.
Tall.
Broad-shouldered, dark skin, close-cropped hair, and eyes the color of amber. He wore simple clothes, jeans, and a leather jacket, but he moved with the grace of an alpha. "Leora," he said, and his voice was warm honey over gravel. "Welcome to the sanctuary. I'm Kale, and I've been expecting you." Chapter 3. The warehouse didn't look like much from the outside, but inside it was transformed. Kale had converted it into a living space for dozens of wolves. Partitioned areas for privacy, communal spaces for gathering, a medical bay, a training area, even a small library. And everywhere I looked, I saw them. Exiled wolves.
Rogues.
Omegas who'd been cast out. Young wolves who'd challenged their alphas and paid the price. Elderly wolves who'd been deemed too old to contribute. All of them had found sanctuary here. How many live here? I asked, following Kale through the space. 43 at last count, he said. More arrive every few months. Some stay permanently. Others heal and move on. We don't force anyone to stay or go. This is about choice, not obligation. He stopped in front of a small private room. Simple but clean, with a bed, a dresser, and a window that looked out over the Dallas skyline. This is yours, he said, for as long as you need it. There's a medical bay down the hall. Dr. Rivera will check on you and the baby tomorrow. For tonight, just rest. Why are you doing this?
I asked.
You don't know me. He smiled, and it transformed his entire face. The moon goddess visited me 2 weeks ago. Said her chosen avatar was coming. That I should prepare. That you'd need sanctuary and time to grow into your power. You believe that? That I'm her avatar? I know it, he said simply. I can feel it on you. Divine energy. Sleeping, yes, but there. You're going to change everything, Leora. The entire pack system. But first, you need to survive. First, you need to birth your child. Second, you need to heal. Tears welled up in my eyes. I don't know if I can do this. You can, he said gently. And you will. Because you're stronger than they told you. Stronger than you know. And when you're ready, when you've claimed your power, you're going to show the whole world what real strength looks like. He left me alone then. I sat on the bed, hands on my belly, and for the first time in 3 days, I let myself cry. Not from despair. From relief. I'd made it. I'd survived. I was safe. And my baby, this miracle child who'd kept fighting through everything, was going to be born in safety. We made it, I whispered. We actually made it. That night, I slept for 12 hours straight. And I dreamed of silver light and transformation and a future I couldn't yet imagine but was starting to believe in. Chapter 4. 3 weeks after I arrived at the sanctuary, on a cold January night with a full moon hanging over Dallas like a promise, my son decided it was time. Labor started fast. Too fast. Dr. Rivera said it sometimes happened with wolf pregnancies when the mother was under extreme stress. My body had been holding on, waiting until I felt safe. Now that I was safe, everything happened at once. You're doing great, Dr. Rivera said, checking my vitals. But this baby's coming quickly. We need to get you to the medical bay now. Kale appeared at my door before anyone called him, like he'd sensed something was happening. I'll carry you, he said, and before I could protest, he'd scooped me up like I weighed nothing. The medical bay was small but well-equipped. Dr. Rivera had everything ready, but as another contraction hit, as I screamed with the pain of it, I felt something else. Power. Building. Growing. The moon goddess's presence getting stronger with every contraction. What's happening? Dr. Rivera asked, staring at my hands. Leora, you're glowing. I looked down. Silver light was emanating from my skin, pulsing in rhythm with my contractions. The awakening, Kale breathed. It's happening during the birth. Push, Dr. Rivera commanded. Leora, push now. I pushed with everything I had. Felt my body tearing, felt pain beyond anything I'd ever experienced, felt the boundary between life and death getting thinner. And then I felt the moon goddess herself enter the room. She materialized beside the bed, visible only to me, her silver form radiant and impossibly beautiful. Almost there, daughter, she said. One more push. Bring him into the world. And then you transform. I pushed one final time, and my son entered the world crying, strong and alive and perfect. It's a boy, Dr. Rivera said, tears streaming down her face. A healthy, beautiful boy. But I barely heard her, because the moment my son took his first breath, the transformation began. Silver light exploded from my body, filling the entire medical bay. I felt my dormant wolf wake up, but she wasn't the same wolf I'd had before. She was divine, touched by the moon goddess herself. And she was powerful beyond measure. I felt my senses expand. Felt my awareness stretch across the entire sanctuary, touching every wolf here, feeling their emotions, their pain, their hope. I felt authority settle into my bones. Not alpha authority, which demanded submission through dominance. This was different. This was Luna authority. The power to command any wolf regardless of rank. The power to see truth and lies. The power to heal spiritual wounds and judge supernatural crimes. I was no longer just Leora Ashvale, exiled Luna. I was the moon goddess's avatar. The first Luna priestess in 500 years. And I was going to change everything. When the light faded, Kale and Dr. Rivera were staring at me with wide eyes. Well, Kale said, his voice filled with awe. That was unexpected. I laughed, exhausted and exhilarated and terrified all at once. Can I hold him? My son. Dr. Rivera placed him in my arms. He was perfect. Dark hair like mine, but his eyes, when he opened them, were pure silver. Not Asterian silver. Something else. Something divine. What will you name him? Kale asked quietly. I looked down at my miracle baby. Born in exile. Delivered during my awakening. Destined for greatness. Zephyr, I said. It means west wind. New beginnings. Change. Perfect, the moon goddess's voice whispered in my mind. And he's going to be special, Leora. The first child born to one of my avatars in centuries. He'll have gifts you can't imagine yet. Protect him. Teach him. And when he's grown, he'll stand beside you as you rebuild the world. I held Zephyr close, feeling the weight of destiny settling onto both our shoulders. But I also felt something else. Hope. For the first time since the exile, I felt genuinely, truly hopeful about the future. Chapter 5. The first month after Zephyr's birth was chaos. Not bad chaos. Transformative chaos. Because I had divine power now but absolutely no idea how to use it. That's where Kale came in. He'd been a high-ranking pack enforcer before his own exile 15 years ago. He'd spent that time studying Luna lore, pack history, everything he could find about divine avatars. He became my teacher. We started simple. Meditation. Connecting with the divine power flowing through my blood. You're not borrowing the moon goddess's power, Kale explained one morning while we sat in the sanctuary's small garden area. You are her power made flesh. You're the bridge between divine and mortal. That means you need to understand both sides. You know a lot about this, I observed. For someone who's never been an avatar. He smiled. I had a lot of time to study. And I've been waiting for you specifically for 3 years. 3 years? But the moon goddess only chose me when I was exiled. No, Kale said gently. She chose you long before that. The exile was just the catalyst. The moment you'd be broken open enough to accept what you were meant to be. I thought about that. About how my whole life had been leading to this moment. Show me what I can do, I said. He gathered a group of volunteers. 20 wolves who'd agreed to let me practice on them. Start with one, Kale instructed. Command a single wolf. Feel how it works. I focused on a young woman named Marina. Felt her wolf, her energy, her pain from her own exile. Kneel, I said quietly, putting intent behind the word. Marina dropped to her knees instantly, her eyes wide with shock. I couldn't stop myself, she gasped. My wolf just obeyed. It felt right, like recognizing something sacred. That's Luna authority, Kale explained. Your wolf recognizes Leora as something that transcends normal pack hierarchy. Something divine. Now try all of them, he said to me. I took a breath, extended my awareness to encompass all 20 wolves. Kneel. Every single one of them dropped. Instantly. Simultaneously. And I felt it. The power flowing through me, connecting me to each of them, making their wolves bow to something older and greater than any alpha. I released them quickly. Stand. They stood, several of them shaking. That's incredible, Marina said. And kind of terrifying. You could command an entire pack. Eventually, Kale corrected. Right now, her limit is probably around 100 wolves. With training, she might reach 500. 1,000 if she pushes herself to absolute exhaustion. But the commanding wasn't what affected me most. It was the healing. One afternoon, they brought me a young man named Darius. He'd been exiled 6 months ago after his mate died. The grief had broken something in him, severed his connection to his wolf. He was alive but hollow, a shell. Can you help him? Dr. Rivera asked. I sat with Darius, taking his hands in mine. Felt the broken places in his spirit. The grief, the rage, the despair that had swallowed his wolf whole. And I let the goddess's power flow. It wasn't like healing a physical wound. This was deeper, knitting soul fragments back together. Filling voids with light, showing him that his pain mattered, that his loss wasn't the end, that he could survive this and become whole again. When I opened my eyes, Darius was crying. My wolf, he whispered. I can feel him again.
He's there.
He's really there. He shifted right there in the healing room. A beautiful dark gray wolf with intelligent eyes. Then shifted back, laughing and crying at the same time.
Thank you, he sobbed.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. After he left, I sat there shaking. That's why she chose you, Kale said from the doorway. Because you understand pain. You don't just heal bodies, Leora. You heal souls. That's the gift the packs have been missing. That's what Divine Luna authority really means. Over the next 2 years, I trained, learned, grew into my power. I could sense emotions from hundreds of feet away, could tell truth from lies just by listening to heartbeats, could extend my awareness across large areas, understanding pack dynamics, feeling bonds. And I could judge, could determine if a wolf deserved their gifts, could revoke the ability to shift if someone proved themselves unworthy. Use that power carefully, Kale warned. Only as last resort. Because once you start taking away gifts freely, you're no different from the alphas who exiled you. I understood. Divine authority wasn't about domination. It was about justice. About protecting the vulnerable. About making sure what happened to me never happened to anyone
else.
Chapter 6. Word spread through the rogue network faster than wildfire. The moon goddess had chosen an avatar. Divine authority had returned. There was finally hope for wolves the packs had thrown away. Within 6 months of Zephyr's birth, our numbers swelled from 43 to over 200. They came from everywhere. Chicago,
New York,
Los Angeles, Seattle, all carrying the same stories. Exiled for being weak. Cast out for challenging authority. Abandoned for failing to meet impossible standards. And they'd heard that in Dallas, there was finally sanctuary. Finally someone who could challenge the system. Finally hope. The sanctuary had to expand. Kale bought the warehouses on either side of our original building. We converted them into living spaces, training areas, medical facilities. We became a community. A real pack, built not on dominance, but on choice. And I became something I never expected. A leader. A Luna. But not the traditional kind. I led by example. By healing the broken. By teaching the fearful. By showing everyone here that their so-called weakness was actually strength in disguise. Zephyr grew fast. By age 2, he was already showing signs of his divine heritage. Animals were drawn to him. Birds would land on his shoulders. Stray cats followed him around. Even the tough, damaged wolves at the sanctuary would soften around him. And when he cried, every wolf within hearing distance would feel compelled to come for him. Not through command, but through instinct. The natural response to protecting something sacred. He's going to be powerful, Dr. Rivera observed one day while checking on him. Maybe even more powerful than you. I know, I said, watching my son play with blocks on the floor. The moon goddess told me. The first child born to an avatar in 500 years. We don't know what that means yet. But I was about to find out. Because on a warm spring evening, 2.5 years after my exile, everything changed. A wolf arrived at the sanctuary.
Young.
Terrified. bleeding from wounds that looked suspiciously like punishment marks. Her name was Ember. She was 19 years old, and she'd just escaped from North Star Pack. My old pack. Asterian's pack. She collapsed in our medical bay, and when she could finally speak, she said the words that made my blood run cold. "They're looking for you, Alpha Asterian. The Council, they know you're alive. They know you have power, and they're coming to Dallas to bring you back." "Why?" I asked, my heart hammering. "Why now, after all this time?" Ember looked at me with desperate eyes. "Because your daughter, Celeste, ran away 3 days ago. She's 6 years old now, and she's been asking for you since the day you left. When they told her you were dead, that you died in exile, she called them liars. Said she could feel you were still alive. Said she was going to find you." My vision blurred with tears. Celeste, my baby girl, still looking for me after all this time. Where is she now? "I don't know," Ember said. "The pack is searching everywhere." But Alpha Asterian, he realized something. Realized that if Celeste can feel you're alive, you must have gotten stronger. Much stronger. Strong enough to potentially challenge him. "And he's afraid," Kale said grimly. "Afraid of what you've become." "He should be," I said, and I felt divine power flare in response to my emotion. Because if he's hurt my daughter, if he's let anything happen to her while she's been searching for me, I'm going to show him exactly what divine authority means. The moon goddess's voice whispered in my mind. "It's time, daughter. Time to return to Chicago. Time to reclaim what's yours. Time to show them what you've become." I looked at Kale. "Will you come with me?" "Always," he said without hesitation. "We'll take 20 of our best. Enough to make a statement, not enough to look like an invasion." "When do we leave?" "Tomorrow," he said. "Because if your daughter is out there looking for you, we don't have time to waste." I nodded, then went to find Zephyr. He was sleeping in our room, peaceful and safe. I kissed his forehead. "Mama has to go get your big sister," I whispered. "I'll be back soon. And when I come back, we'll finally be a family again." But I knew the truth. Going back to Chicago meant facing Asterian. Facing the pack that exiled me. Facing everyone who'd called me weak. And this time, I wasn't running. This time, I was going to show them what real power looked like. Chapter 7. We drove, through the night. 21 wolves in 4 vehicles, heading north from Dallas to Chicago. Kale drove the lead car. I sat beside him, my hands glowing faintly with divine power I couldn't quite contain. "Nervous?" he asked. "Terrified," I admitted. Not of Asterian, not of the pack, but of seeing Celeste again. What if she doesn't remember me? What if she's angry that I left? "You didn't leave," Kale said firmly. "You were exiled. Thrown out while pregnant and bleeding from a shattered mate bond. That's not leaving. That's surviving. Try explaining that to a 6-year-old. You won't have to. Children understand love. And that little girl has been searching for you for 3 years. She knows you didn't abandon her. She's just been waiting for you to be strong enough to come back." He was right, but it didn't ease the fear. We reached Chicago at dawn. The city looked different to me now. 3 years ago, I'd stumbled through these streets broken and dying. Now, I was returning as something they couldn't have imagined.
Divine.
Powerful. Unstoppable. "North Star Pack headquarters is downtown," I said. "The penthouse building on West Adams Street." "We know," said Marcus, one of our strongest wolves, from the back seat. "We've been tracking them. They're having an emergency council meeting right now, discussing what to do about the Avatar rumors." "Good," I said. "Let's give them something real to discuss." We parked 3 blocks away and walked. 21 wolves moving through downtown Chicago with purpose. Humans couldn't sense what we were, but other wolves could. I felt them noticing us. Felt pack wolves stopping to stare. Felt the ripple of shock and fear spreading through the supernatural community. The exiled Luna had returned. And she'd brought an army. We entered the building through the main lobby. The human security guards tried to stop us, but Kale simply showed them his eyes, let them flash amber, and they backed away quickly. Supernatural business. Smart humans didn't interfere. The elevator ride to the penthouse seemed to take forever. When the doors opened, we stepped into chaos. The council chamber was packed. I counted 50 wolves, including Asterion, seated at the head of the room on his alpha throne. He looked older, tired, like the weight of leadership had finally caught up with him. But when he saw me, when our eyes met across the room, I saw something else. Shock, fear, and underneath it all, regret. "Leora," he breathed. The entire room fell silent. "Hello, Asterion," I said calmly. "It's been a while." Elder Cashin stood up, his face purple with rage. "You have no right to be here. You were exiled. You're trespassing on pact territory." "I have every right," I said, letting divine power flow into my voice, letting it echo with authority that made every wolf in the room instinctively submit. "I am Leora Ashvale, Luna Priestess, avatar of the Moon Goddess. And I'm here for my daughter." "Celestis Pack," Cashin snarled. "She belongs here, not with a rogue." "I'm not a rogue," I said calmly. "I'm something far more dangerous. I'm divine authority made flesh. And I'm giving you one chance to do this peacefully. Bring me my daughter. Acknowledge that my exile was unjust, and I'll leave without judgment. And if we refuse?" Cashin challenged. I smiled. "Then I'll show you exactly what happens when wolves forget that their power is a gift from the Moon Goddess. A gift that can be revoked." I let power flare. Silver light filled the room, emanating from my skin, my eyes, my very presence. And I felt every wolf in that chamber recognize what I was. Something sacred. Something ancient. Something they couldn't fight or dominate or control. Asterion stood slowly. "Everyone out," he said quietly, "except Leora and her wolves. Council is dismissed." "Alpha, you can't," Cashin protested. "Out." Asterion's alpha command rang through the chamber. The wolves fled, leaving only Asterion, me, Kale, and the 20 wolves we'd brought. Asterion stared at me for a long moment. "You're really her avatar." "I really am." "And you came back for Celeste." "I came back for my daughter. The one you let think I was dead." He flinched. I didn't know what else to tell her. Saying you were exiled, that we'd thrown you out, it felt too cruel. "So, you chose a different cruelty," I said. "You let her grieve a mother, who is still alive. Let her think I'd abandoned her completely. Do you have any idea what that did to her?" "I know," he said, and his voice cracked. "I know, and I'm sorry."
For everything. For the exile.
For not standing up to the council. For choosing my position over you and our children. I've replayed that night 1,000 times, Leora. And every time, I wish I'd been braver. "Where is she?" I asked. "Where's Celeste?" "I don't know," he admitted. "She ran away 3 days ago. Left a note saying she was going to find her real mother. That she knew I'd been lying. We've been searching everywhere, but she's a smart kid. She knows how to hide." My heart clenched. "She's out there alone?" "With her wolf," Asterion said. "She had her first shift 6 months ago. She's stronger than you think." Before I could respond, I felt it. A presence. Small but determined. Coming closer. And I knew, with absolute certainty, who it was. "She's here," I whispered. The elevator dinged. The doors opened. And there, standing in the entrance to the penthouse, was my daughter, Celeste. 6 years old now, not 3. Tall for her age, with dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail and silver eyes that held way too much pain for someone so young. She stared at me. I stared at her. And then she whispered the word I'd been waiting 3 years to hear. "Mama?" Chapter 8. I was across the room before I consciously decided to move. Dropped to my knees in front of my daughter, tears already streaming down my face. "Celeste," I choked out. "Baby, it's really me. I'm really here." She touched my face with one small hand, like she couldn't believe I was real. "They said you died," she whispered. "They said you got sick and died, and I'd never see you again. But I knew. I could feel you. In here. She touched her chest. I knew you were alive. I'm so sorry, I said, pulling her into my arms. I'm so sorry I couldn't come back sooner. I'm so sorry you had to wait. But I'm here now, and I'm never leaving you again. She clung to me, sobbing into my shoulder, and I felt 3 years of grief and fear and desperate hope pouring out of her. I looked everywhere, she cried. I searched the whole city. I thought maybe you forgot about me. Never, I said fiercely. Not for 1 second. Every single day I thought about you. I was just waiting until I was strong enough to come back and keep you safe. Are you strong now? I pulled back, looked her in the eyes, and let a little bit of divine light show through. Baby, I'm the strongest wolf alive. Her eyes went wide. You're glowing. The moon goddess gave me special gifts, I explained gently. Made me her avatar.
It means I can protect you now.
No one can ever take you from me again. She looked past me at Asterion, and her expression hardened in a way that broke my heart. So much anger in someone so young. I don't want to stay with him, she said clearly. I want to go with you. Asterion flinched like he'd been struck. Celeste, sweetheart, I'm still your father. You let them take Mom away, she said, her voice shaking. You didn't stop them. You just stood there and did nothing while they made her leave. Marina told me the truth. She said you abstained during the vote. That means you could have saved her, but you didn't. Who's Marina? Asterion asked weakly. A pack member who actually cared enough to tell Celeste the truth, I said coldly. Unlike everyone else who lied to her for 3 years. The silence was heavy, broken only by Celeste's quiet crying against my shoulder. Finally, Kale spoke. We should take this somewhere private. Have the real conversation without an audience. He gestured to the windows. I looked out and saw what he meant. Dozens of pack wolves had gathered in the street below, staring up at the penthouse. Word had spread fast. The exiled Luna had returned. With power. With witnesses. With her daughter. My office, Asterion said quietly. Please. We followed him to a private room. Just me, Celeste, Kale, and Asterion. Once the door closed, Asterion turned to me with desperate eyes. I know I don't deserve to ask this, he said. I know I failed you both. But please, Leora, don't take her away completely. Let me still be part of her life. Let me try to make this right. Make it right? I asked, and divine power crept into my voice. You exiled me while I was 6 months pregnant. Stood by while they called me defective. Let them drag me out into a Chicago winter with nothing. I could have died, Asterion. I almost did. And you did nothing. I know, he said, and tears were streaming down his face now. I know, and I've hated myself every day since. But, Leora, I was afraid. The council, Cashin's faction, they were pushing for a vote of no confidence. If I'd overruled them, they would have stripped my alpha position. I'd have lost everything. So you chose your title over your family, I said flatly. Over your pregnant mate and your daughter. You chose power. Yes, he admitted. And it was the worst decision of my life. I thought I was protecting the pack, maintaining stability, but all I did was destroy everything that mattered. Celeste pulled away from me slightly, looking between us with those 2 wise eyes. Are you going to punish him, Mama? She asked. With your special powers? I looked at my daughter, looked at Asterion, looked at Kale, who stood silently supportive, letting me make this choice. The moon goddess gave me power for a reason, I said slowly. To protect the vulnerable. To bring justice. To make sure wolves like Cashin can't abuse their authority anymore. I turned to Asterion. So here's what's going to happen. Celeste comes with me. Back to Dallas, to the sanctuary I've built. She'll live with me and her little brother. Brother? Celeste's head whipped around. I have a brother? You do, I said gently. His name is Zephyr. He's 2 years old. He's been waiting to meet his big sister. I have a brother, she breathed, wonder replacing some of the pain in her eyes. I turned back to Asterion. You can visit. Once a month. Supervised. You'll have to come to Dallas, to our territory. And Asterion, you're going to have to earn back the right to be her father. Because right now, you're just the man who chose wrong when it mattered most. He nodded, accepting the terms without argument. What about the pack? The council? Oh, we're not done here, I said. Not by a long shot. Because this isn't just about my exile anymore. This is about reforming a broken system. Making sure what happened to me never happens to anyone else. I stood, divine power flowing through me. Call an emergency pack meeting. Every adult wolf. I want witnesses. Because in 1 hour, North Star Pack is going to face divine judgment. Chapter 9. 1 hour later, I stood in the main assembly hall of North Star Pack headquarters. 300 wolves packed the space. Every adult member of the pack, plus representatives from allied packs who'd come to witness whatever was about to happen. Word had spread fast. The exiled Lunar had returned as the moon goddess's avatar. She was calling for judgment. Everyone wanted to see what that meant. Celeste stood beside me, holding my hand. Kale stood on my other side, solid and supportive. Our 20 sanctuary wolves formed a protective semicircle behind us. Asterion sat in his alpha chair, looking like he was facing execution. Elder Cashin stood with the council, his expression defiant despite the fear I could feel radiating off him. I let the silence stretch. Let them feel the weight of divine presence. Let them understand that something fundamental had shifted. Then I spoke, my voice magically amplified to reach every corner of the room. My name is Leora Ashvale. 3 years ago, you exiled me, called me weak, defective, unworthy of being Luna because I couldn't shift while pregnant. I let divine light begin to emanate from my skin. You were wrong. Gasps rippled through the crowd. I didn't lose my wolf from weakness. I lost her because my body was protecting my unborn child. It's a normal biological response, but you chose to see it as failure. Chose to use it as an excuse to remove a Luna who didn't fit your political agenda. I looked directly at Cashin. Elder Cashin specifically. You've wanted me gone since the day Asterion chose me over your daughter. You pushed for this exile. Convinced the council I was a threat to pack stability. I did what was necessary, Cashin said, his voice shaking slightly. The pack must always come first. The pack, I repeated. Let me tell you about the pack, Cashin. About the wolves you've exiled over the years. Anyone you deemed weak or inconvenient. I gestured to our group. Marina, exiled 2 years ago for having a late first shift. Darius, exiled for grieving his mate too long. Ember, exiled 3 days ago for questioning your authority. Should I continue? Uncomfortable murmurs spread through the crowd. You've been using exile as a weapon? I continued. Removing anyone who threatens your power. Hiding it behind tradition and pack law. But here's what you forgot. I let divine power flare, filling the entire assembly hall with silver light. Your power is a gift from the moon goddess. Your ability to shift, to form pack bonds, to lead, all of it comes from her. And gifts can be revoked. Fear spread like wildfire through the crowd. I'm not here for revenge, I said, letting my voice soften slightly. I'm here for justice. For reform. For making sure this never happens again. I turned to address the entire assembly. I'm offering you a choice. Adopt new pack laws. Protect Omegas from unjust exile. Require unanimous council votes for banishment instead of simple majority. Include Omega voices in governance. Make strength mean protection instead of dominance. And if we refuse, someone called from the crowd. Then I use divine authority to remove your ability to shift until you comply. I don't want to do that. Taking away the goddess's gift should be last resort. But I will if I must. Because this system has to change. You can't just walk in here and dictate pack law, Cashin snarled. I can, I said simply. I'm the moon goddess's avatar. I speak with her authority. And she's done watching her children suffer under cruel leadership. I focused on Cashin specifically. You especially, Elder. You led the vote to exile me. You've exiled dozens of Levies over the years. You've twisted pack tradition into a weapon of oppression. I walked toward him slowly, divine power building with each step. By the authority granted to me by the moon goddess, I judge you guilty of crimes against pack, of cruelty disguised as strength, of perverting divine gifts into weapons. And I sentence you. The room went silent. Everyone waited. I sentence you to 1 year, without your wolf. You'll live as human, unable to shift, unable to feel pack bonds, unable to access the strength you used to justify cruelty. And during that year, you'll serve the sanctuary in Dallas. You'll help the wolves you once condemned. You'll learn what it means to be powerless. I touched his chest. Divine power flowed. Cashin screamed as his connection to his wolf severed. Not painfully, but the loss, the sudden absence, was clearly devastating. He collapsed to his knees, gasping. In 1 year, I said, if you've truly changed, if you've learned compassion, I'll restore your wolf. But if you haven't, the loss becomes permanent. Choose wisely. I turned to face the entire assembly again. This is the only punishment I'm levying today. Everyone else gets a second chance. But understand this, divine authority is watching now. The days of abusing power without consequences are over. I looked at Asterion. Alpha Asterion. Will you accept these reforms? He stood slowly.
Yes.
North Star Pack will implement every change you've requested. More than that, we'll create a new council structure. Equal representation. Better oversight. Protection for the vulnerable. Good, I said. Then I addressed everyone. To the rest of you, spread the word. Tell every pack in every territory. The moon goddess has returned her avatar to the world. Divine authority is back. And we're done tolerating cruelty. The assembly erupted. Some wolves cheering. Others arguing. Fear and hope mixing together. But I was done. I'd said what I came to say. I took Celeste's hand. Ready to go home, baby? She nodded, then looked back at Asterion one more time. Bye, Dad, she said quietly. Maybe I'll see you next month. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a door left open. A possibility of healing. Asterion's face crumpled with relief and gratitude. I'll be there. I promise. We walked out of North Star Pack headquarters. 21 wolves when we arrived. 22 leaving, with Celeste between Kale and me. As we drove away from Chicago, heading back to Dallas, Celeste leaned against me. Mama? Yes, sweetheart. Are you really the strongest wolf alive?
I thought about that.
About everything I'd survived. Everything I'd become. I don't know about strongest, I said honestly. But I'm strong enough. Strong enough to protect you and Zephyr. Strong enough to change the world. Strong enough to make sure no one else has to go through what we did. Good, she said. Then, quieter. I missed you so much. I missed you too, baby. Every single day. Kale glanced over at us, and I saw something in his eyes. Something warm and protective and maybe, possibly, the beginning of something more than friendship. But that was for later. For when I was ready. For now, I had my daughter back. Had my son waiting in Dallas. Had a community that needed me. Had a world to reform. The moon goddess had given me a second chance at life. A chance to reinvent myself. To reclaim everything I thought I'd lost. And I was going to make every second count. 2 years later. 2 years after I returned to Chicago and claimed my daughter, I stood in the sanctuary's main hall in Dallas, watching my children play. Celeste was 8 now, confident and strong, helping train younger wolves in combat techniques. She'd forgiven Asterion, slowly, over his monthly visits. They'd never have the relationship they once did, but they were building something new. Something honest. Zephyr was 4, already showing signs of power that awed even me. He could sense emotions like I could, but stronger. Could heal minor injuries with a touch. Could command any animal, not just wolves. And he adored his big sister. Mama, watch, he called, making a nearby bird land on his finger. Very good, sweetheart, I called back. Kale came up beside me, slipping his hand into mine. We'd been officially mated for 6 months now. Not a fated bond like with Asterion, but a chosen bond. Built on friendship and respect and genuine love. It was better. Healthier.
Real.
11 more packs adopted the reforms this month, he said. That's 32 total. More than half the packs in the country.
Good, I said.
We're making progress. You're making progress, he corrected. You changed the world, Leora. In just 3 years, you've reformed the entire pack system. We changed the world, I corrected back. All of us. Everyone here. The sanctuary had grown to over 500 wolves now. Not just a refuge anymore, but a true community. A model for what packs could be. Any regrets? Kale asked quietly.
I thought about that.
About the exile.
The pain.
The suffering that had transformed me into this. Only one, I said. That it took exile to find my power. That I had to suffer so much to become who I am. Would you change it if you could? I looked at my children. At the community we'd built. At the man beside me who loved me not because of a mystical bond, but because he chose to. No, I said finally. Because that Leora, the one who stayed, who never challenged anything, who let herself be small, she would never have changed the world. She would never have found her true strength. So, no regrets? No regrets, I confirmed. Just gratitude.
For the second chance.
For the goddess's faith in me. For all of this. The moon was rising over Dallas, full and bright and beautiful. And I swear I heard her voice one more time, warm with pride. Well done, daughter. Well done.